lecture, we people have finished the exercise of chapter number 10, that is wave optics. So today, we people are going to start the new chapter, that is chapter number 11, dual nature of matter and radiation. So let's study about the chapter. Chapter 11, that is dual nature of matter and radiation. Matter and radiation. So, in order to study this chapter, first of all, we people have knowledge about some basic terminology, that is, we are going to define some basic terms. First of all, what do we mean by work function, what about the electron volt, what about the threshold frequency. So let's study about these terms. So here, first of all, I am going to define, that is, what about the work function. What about the work function? And on what factor this work function depends, denoted by this phi naught. So every metal has its own work function. Now how we can define this term? It is the minimum amount of energy required to eject the electron from the metal surface. That is what we call as a work function. Every metal has its different work function. For example, cesium has the work function of 2.14 electron volt. On the other hand, the platinum has the work function of 5.65 electron volt. So we can define this, that is work function. It is defined as the minimum amount of, it is defined as the minimum amount of energy, required to or simply required to eject the electron, from the metal surface, minimum amount of energy required to eject the electron from the metal surface, that is called its work function. Now, work function, for example, it has the different value for the different metals. For example, if we discuss about the platinum, so platinum has the work function is here we can write the work function for the work function is highest, we can say, is highest for the metal, metal platinum, and its value is 5.65 electron volt. Work function is highest for the metal platinum and its value is 5.65 electron. Further, the lowest work function is for the what we can say cesium metal, and its value is 2.14 electron volt. Lowest work function is for cesium metal, and its value is 2.14 electron volt. So sometimes this question may be asked in the annual exam, and in 1 mark, name the metal which has the highest work function. So we will name it as platinum. Its value is 5.65 electron volt, and what we can say, the metal which has the lowest work function, that is what we call cesium, that is 2.14 electron volt. Now let's study about the next term. Here we have written this electron volt. So how we can define this? But before studying this definition of electron volt, let me explain about the factors on which this work function depends. So factors on which work function depends. Work function of metal, work function of metal depends. Metal depends. So the various factors are, the first factor if we talk about, that is the temperature of the metal. Temperature of metal. The second factor will be, that is nature of the metal. Nature of metal. And the third factor is, it depends upon the surface of the metal, as it is cleaned or it contains the impurities. So we can say it depends upon the surface of metal. So in this way, these are the factors on which the work function depends. Now let's study about the second definition, that is what about how we can define this term, that is electron volt. Electron volt written in the form of EV. So how we can define this electron volt and what is its value? So we can define electron volt as, it is defined as the energy gained by an electron when it is accelerated through the potential difference of 1 volt. So we can define it as, it is defined as the energy gained by an electron when it is accelerated through the potential difference of 1 volt. Potential difference of 1 volt. So that is what we call the definition of electron volt. It is denoted by EV, and 1 electron volt value is 1.6 into 10 is power minus 19 joule. So here the unit of energy is joule, so that's why we have written here, defined as the energy gained by an electron when it is accelerated through a potential difference of 1 volt. In the mathematical form, if we want to learn, it is defined as the energy gained by an electron when it is accelerated through the potential difference of 1 volt. So in this way we can define this electron volt. Now, what about this threshold frequency? The third definition we people are going to study is, that is threshold frequency. Threshold frequency. How we can define this? Threshold frequency. How we can define this? Denoted by this sign nu naught. So we can define this threshold frequency as minimum frequency required to eject the electron from the metal surface. That is what we call threshold frequency, or in another way we can define the frequency below which no photoelectron can be ejected or emitted from the metal surface. That is what we call threshold frequency. So we can define it as, that is the minimum frequency below which below which no photoelectrons, no electrons can be ejected from the metal surface. Minimum frequency below which, or simply we can also define it like as minimum frequency of the incident radiation below which no electrons, no photoelectrons can be ejected, no photoelectrons can be ejected from metal surface, that is what we call threshold frequency, denoted by nu naught. So in this way we have studied about the basic terms. Whatever work function I am explaining once again, minimum amount of energy required to eject the electron from the metal surface, that is what we call its work function. The metals which have the highest work function is platinum, value is 5.65 electron volt, and the metal which has the lowest work function is cesium, value is 2.14 electron volt. And what are the factors on which the work function of metal depends? It depends upon the temperature of the metal, nature of the metal, and the surface of a metal. Now, the second definition we people have studied about the electron volt, that is the energy gained by an electron. Energy gained by an electron when it is accelerated through a potential difference of 1 volt. Now, what about this threshold frequency? The minimum frequency of the incident radiation below which no photoelectron can be ejected from the metal surface, or in another way we can define threshold frequency, the minimum frequency of incident radiation below which, in this way, or above which the photoelectric emission process takes place. So this is all about the basic terms. Now let's move ahead. Next term we people are going to study, that is what about the photoelectric emission and how many types of photoelectric emission is there. So let's study about the photoelectric emission and its types. Photoelectric emission. How many types of photoelectric emission is there? So first of all, I am going to define it. That is the phenomenon according to which the electrons are ejected from the metal surface when a light or suitable intensity falls on it. That is what we call photoelectric emission. Okay, so how many types of this photoelectric emission is there? So we can define this photoelectric emission as, that is phenomenon of ejection of electron from the metal surface, that is what we call photoelectric emission. How many types of photoelectric emissions are there? So we have mainly three types of photoelectric emission. The first one is, how we can define this? That is, this is thermoionic emission. The second type is field emission or cold emission, and the third one is what we can say photo emission. So we have classified this into three categories. This is simply we get not photoelectric emission. This is just electron emission. We have defined this definition as it is just the electron emission, because in the types we are explaining this photoelectric emission. This is electron emission, so we have defined it as, that is, phenomena of ejection of electron from the metal surface. That is what we call electron emission. So types, first type three people are going to study, that is photoelectric emission. So here in this case, how we can define this? The phenomena of ejection of the electron from the metal surface when the light of suitable high frequency falls on the metal surface. And what about this high frequency? It must be greater than the threshold frequency of that particular metal. So how we can define this? That phenomenon of ejection of electron from metal surface when a light of suitable high frequency when a light of suitable high frequency is incident on the metal surface. The phenomena is called as photoelectric emission. For example, in case of metals like zinc, cadmium, magnesium, in order to eject the electron from the metal surface, we have to use the ultraviolet light. For example, here if I am discussing about the metal like zinc, suppose this is our metal zinc. So in order to eject the electron from this surface, what the type of radiation we have to use? This must be ultraviolet radiation. Only zinc metal will show the photoelectric emission phenomena only when the ultraviolet light is made incident on it. Similarly, if the UV light or UV radiations are made incident on the cadmium or magnesium metal, then same thing happens there. On the other hand, the alkali metals like lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, if the visible radiations pass on them, under that condition they show the photoelectric effect. For example, suppose these are the visible radiations or visible rays are made incident on the alkali metals like lithium, or you can say sodium, lithium, sodium, rubidium, cesium. So these all are the alkali metals, or simply we can say these alkali metals, they show the photoelectric emission when the visible radiations are incident on them. In this way the electron gets ejected. And here in this case the metals like zinc, cadmium is there, magnesium is there. These all the metals also shows the same phenomena for the UV radiations. So in this way the photoelectric emission we have defined. Now the next type of electron emission is, that is field emission. The second type is field emission. Now what about this field emission, or commonly known as cold emission, or we also called as cold emission. So here we can define this field emission as the phenomenon of ejection of electron from the metal surface when a suitable high electric field of the order of 10⁻⁸ volt per meter is supplied to that particular metal. In our daily life, if we talk about this field emission, then you people have ever seen the plug, spark plug of the motorcycle. So in the spark plug, the electrons are ejected from the metal surface due to this phenomenon. That is what we call field emission. So here we can define it as the phenomenon of ejection of electrons from the metal surface, when a high electric field of the order of 10 to the power 8 volt per meter is supplied to the metal or applied to the metal. So in this way we can define, for example, the electrons emitted by spark plug. Okay, so in this way we can define this field emission. Now the third type is, that is thermoionic emission. So how we can define this third type, that is thermoionic emission? In this way we can define it as the phenomenon of ejection of electron when the metal is heated. For example, in the incandescent lamp, when the filament of the bulb is heated, then it emits the photoelectrons. So here we can define it on the same way, that is phenomenon of ejection of electrons from the metal surface by heating it. For example, by heating the filament of the bulb, by heating the filament of bulb, we get the photoelectrons. So in this way, this is about the electron emission. Once again I am repeating, what about electron emission? Phenomenon of ejection of electrons from the metal surface, that is what we call electron emission. It is basically of three types. Type number 1, photoelectric emission, phenomenon of ejection of electron from the metal surface when a light of suitable high frequency is made incident on the metal surface. So here the metals like zinc, cadmium, magnesium, they show the photoelectric emission phenomena with the ultraviolet radiation or ultraviolet light, and the metals like alkali metals, they show the photoelectric phenomena when the visible radiations are made incident on them. Second type is studied, that is field emission or cold emission. The phenomenon of ejection of electron from the metal surface when a high electric field of the order of 10 to the power 8 volt per meter is applied to the metal. For example, electrons emitted by the spark plug is the example of this field emission. Then thermoionic emission, phenomenon of ejection of electrons from the metal surface by heating it. For example, by heating the filament of the bulb. This is the example of this thermoionic emission. So in this way, students, we people have studied about this electron emission. Now let's study about the next topic, that is, the question is there, explain the dual nature of radiation. How the radiation possesses the dual nature. Let's study about this. Let's study about this dual nature of radiation. Dual nature of radiation. How we can explain this? So in order to explain this dual nature of radiation, I would like to introduce you people or refresh some previous topics which we have studied. For example, interference of light, diffraction of light, polarization of light is there. So in these phenomena, what has happened? The interaction of light has been taken place by itself. So these phenomena can be well explained by considering the wave nature of light. On the other hand, the photoelectric effect or Compton effect, in which the interaction of light takes place with the matter. So they can be best explained by considering the particle nature of light. And on the other hand, the phenomena like reflection of light or refraction of light, in which the interaction of light neither takes place with themselves nor takes place with the matter. So they can be explained either by considering the wave nature or either by considering the particle nature. So in this way we can say that radiation possesses the dual nature. So if sometimes this question is asked, it is asked in the previous exam in CBSE. So how we can answer this question? So we will answer it, that is, the phenomenon like interference, diffraction, interference of light, diffraction, and polarization of light. In which the interaction of light takes place with, with themselves. Interaction of light takes place with themselves. They can be best explained by, so these phenomena can be best explained by considering wave nature of light. On the other hand, the phenomena like what we can say photoelectric effect or Compton effect, in which the phenomena photoelectric effect. The second phenomena, Compton effect, in which interaction of light takes place with matter. Interaction of light takes place with matter. So these phenomena can be best explained by considering the particle nature of light. Considering the particle nature of light. Now, in the third point, we will write as the phenomena like, here phenomena, that is phenomenons, it will be phenomenons rather than phenomenons. Further, the phenomenons like reflection of light, reflection and refraction of light, in which the interaction of light neither takes place with themselves nor takes place with the matter, in which interaction of light neither takes place with themselves nor takes place with matter. These phenomena can be best explained either by considering these phenomena can be explained either by considering particle nature or they can be explained either by considering the particle nature of light or by considering wave nature of light. So in this way, what is the meaning of this? It means that, or which implies, the radiation has dual nature. What does it mean? Why the radiation has dual nature? Because sometimes they are behaving like waves, sometimes they are behaving like particles, and sometimes we are considering either their particle nature or their wave nature. So in this way we can answer this question, that is, explain why the dual radiation possesses the dual. Now, the next thing which people are going to study is, that is, what do you mean by photoelectric effect, and explain the experiment regarding this phenomena, that is what we call photoelectric effect. So let's study about this. What about the experimental arrangement for this photoelectric effect, and what were the conclusions drawn, and what were finally the laws of photoelectric emission which were explained on the basis of this? So let us study about this, that is photoelectric effect. So let us study about this photoelectric effect. photoelectric effect. How we can explain this photoelectric effect? So we can define the phenomenon of ejection of electrons from the metal surface when a light of suitable high frequency falls on the metal surface. That is what we call photoelectric emission. Now, and the emitted or ejected electrons are called as photoelectrons, and the effect is called as a photoelectric effect. Further, the photoelectrons constituting the current, that is what we call photoelectric current. So, how we can define this photoelectric effect? The phenomenon of ejection of electron, phenomenon of ejection or emission of ejection of electrons from the metal surface, when a light of high frequency is made incident. Phenomenon of ejection of electron from the metal surface when a light of high frequency is made incident on the metal surface. That is what we call photoelectric emission. The phenomenon of ejection of electron from the metal surface when a light of high frequency is made incident on the metal surface. Further, the electrons so ejected are called as or are named as photoelectrons. We will call them photoelectrons. And further, the current flowing through these photoelectrons is called as the current flowing due to these photoelectrons is called as photoelectric current. Further, the effect, and this effect is called as photoelectric effect. Okay. Now, how this photoelectric effect was explained with experiment? So, what was the experimental arrangement for this, and what were the conclusions drawn from this experimental arrangement? So, let us study about this. Yes, experimental arrangement. So, here we people study about this experimental arrangement. Experiment of photoelectric effect, experimental arrangement. Okay, in order to study this photoelectric effect, the experimental arrangement was as follows. So here in this case, the experiment consists of an evacuated glass tube. This is the evacuated glass tube. It is fitted with the two electrodes. That is, this electrode is called as emitter because it emits the photoelectrons, and this electrode is called as collector because it collects the electrons. and this is evacuated glass tube. This is evacuated glass tube. Evacuated glass tube in which complete vacuum is there, and here we call this as emitter. This electrode as emitter and this electrode as collector. It is called as a collector. Now what would happen? Both these emitters and collector, emitter and collector, they are connected with the reversing key. They are connected with the reversing key like as, and here a micrometer having the polarity positive negative, and here a voltmeter in this way. A voltmeter is connected. In here what we have, a variable resistor is connected, like as across a battery in this way. It is positive terminal, it is negative terminal, and here we have the reversing key. This is basically called as what we say, this is called as the reversing key, or cumulator we can also say, reverse key, reverse key. Now this emitter is made up of the photosensitive metal. For example, if it is made up of what we can say zinc, then the incident radiation must be ultraviolet, and if it is made up of the alkali metal, then the incident radiation must be visible, as I have already told you. So what would happen when the ultraviolet radiations are made incident on the emitter? The electrons are ejected from its surface, and if this collector is maintained at the positive potential, under that condition these electrons will get accelerated towards the positive plate, like as in this way. So these are in this way. This is the experimental arrangement. Once again I am repeating. The experimental arrangement of photoelectric effects consists of evacuated glass tube fitted with the two electrodes called emitter and collector. Okay. Further, the emitter and the collector are connected through the reversing key across a battery. And also, in order to measure the current, photoelectric current in the circuit, micrometer is connected there, and in order to measure the potential difference, the voltmeter is connected there. The collector voltage can be increased, or what we can say can be reversed with the help of this reversing key. That is, we can make collector as positive as well as negative. Okay. So this was the experimental arrangement. Now how we can explain the photoelectric effect on the basis of this experimental arrangement? Let's study about it. So here in the first case, we will write its explanation in two steps. Step number 1, when the collector is maintained at positive potential and a light of suitable frequency greater than the threshold frequency for the metal of the emitter is when pass on it, then number of photoelectrons gets ejected from this metal surface of the emitter. So what would happen under that condition? Here, for the sake of simplicity, some authors have named this as A as per NCERT and here it as C. So or some author can also write it as E and this as C. C is the name used for the collector. So if you want to name it as per NCERT, then it is C and I have named it as collector plate as A. Okay, now we can explain this photoelectric effect in two steps. Explanation. Step number 1. When the collector is maintained at positive potential. When collector is maintained at positive potential. Maintained at positive potential. Positive potential. So under that condition, what would happen? If the collector is maintained at positive potential, then what would happen? When the light of suitable high frequency falls on the emitter, the large number of the electrons are ejected from the metal surface. Under the influence of the positive potential of the collector, more and more electrons will get attracted towards the collector, this electrode, as a result of which the current in the circuit will rise. Okay, and a stage is reached when whole of the electrons from the emitter reaches the collector. So that current is called as saturation current. That current is called as saturation current. Once again I am repeating. When the collector is maintained at positive potential, then as the light of suitable high frequency greater than the threshold frequency of the emitter falls on it, large number of photoelectrons are ejected from the surface of this metal. Now, under the influence of the collector potential, that is positive potential of the collector, large number of electrons moves or get accelerated towards the collector, as a result of which the photoelectric current in the circuit rises. And a stage is reached when all the electrons of the, what we can say, this emitter plate, they reaches the collector plate, and under that condition the current in the circuit is called as saturation current. So in this way we will explain the first step. Now let's explain the step number 2. Step number 2, that when collector is maintained at negative potential, negative potential. Under that condition, how we can explain it? What would happen? No, when the collector is maintained at negative potential, now the situation is like that. When this collector plate A is maintained at negative potential, under that condition, some of the photoelectrons ejected from the metal surface, that is what we call emitter, reaches the collector plate A despite of their negative charge. Despite of their negative charge, as a result of which the current, photoelectric current in the circuit will be very small. Further, if we increase the collector potential, if we make collector more negative, under that condition what would happen? A stage will reach when no electrons will reaches the collector plate, as a result of which the photoelectric current in the circuit will become zero. As a result of which the photoelectric current in the circuit becomes zero, then the corresponding potential of the collector is called as a stopping potential. Once again repeating. When the collector is maintained at a negative potential, then despite of the negative polarity of the collector. The electrons, some of the electrons reaches the collector plate, constituting a very small photoelectric current in the circuit. Now, if we further increase this collector potential, or if we further make this collector as a negative potential, or if we further increase this negative potential, under that condition what would happen? No electrons will reaches the collector plate, no electrons will reaches the collector plate, as a result of which the photoelectric current in the circuit becomes zero. Under that condition, the potential applied to the collector such that no photoelectron reaches the collector plate is called as a stopping potential. And when the stopping potential is applied, under that condition, maximum kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectrons, that becomes equal to work done by the stopping potential in order to stop these photoelectrons. So here we people have studied about very important thing, that is what we call stopping potential. That is how we can define the stopping potential. It is the maximum value of the negative value of the collector potential at which no electron reaches the collector. We can say stopping potential. It is the potential applied to the collector at which no photoelectrons reaches the collector, and the photoelectric current in the circuit becomes zero, and photoelectric current in the circuit becomes zero. Once I am repeating, stopping potential is basically denoted by this V naught. It is the potential applied to the collector, or simply the potential applied to the collector at which no photoelectrons reaches the collector, and the photoelectric current in the circuit becomes zero. Then what would happen? Under that condition, work done by the stopping potential, that is EV naught, will be equals to the maximum kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectrons, that is 1 by 2 V max square. Since E is the charge on the electron, that is minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb, is found to be constant. Then what does it mean? Then stopping potential is found to be directly proportional to the maximum kinetic energy. So here we can write, since E is constant, so the V naught, that is stopping potential, is directly proportional to the maximum kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectrons. So in this way we have explained about the photoelectric effect, its experimental arrangement, and the explanation of this. Once again repeating the experimental arrangement and explanation. Experimental arrangement for the photoelectric effect consists of an evacuated glass tube fitted with the two electrodes called as emitter, which emits the photoelectrons, collector plate A, which collects the photoelectrons. Further, the collector and this emitter and collector, they are connected with the variable source of electric field through the micrometer and voltmeter. Okay, and in order to reverse the polarity of the collector, a reversing key or the commutator is attached as shown in the figure. Now, this was the experimental arrangement. Further, we can increase the intensity of the incident radiation falling on the emitter. If here emitter if we have it is made up of the metals zinc, cadmium or magnesium, then we have to use the ultraviolet radiations, and if the emitter is made up of alkali metals, under that condition we have to use the visible radiations. Now how we can explain this photoelectric effect? In two steps we will explain. Step number 1, when collector is maintained at positive potential, that is here the collector is maintained at positive potential, then what would happen? When light of suitable high frequency falls on the emitter, photoelectron are ejected. Now as the collector is maintained at positive potential, then more and more electrons will get accelerated and they will reach the collector, giving rise to the photoelectric current in the circuit. Further, a stage is reached when all the electrons of the emitter, that is from plate C, they reaches the collector, and for which the current in the circuit becomes maximum, and this maximum value of the photoelectric current in the circuit is called as a saturation current. Okay. Step number 2, when the collector is maintained at negative potential with respect to the emitter. Under that condition, despite of the negative polarity or negative charge on the electron, some of the electron reaches the collector plate, constituting a very small current in the photoelectric current in the circuit. Now if we further increase the collector potential, under that condition what would happen? No more photoelectrons will reaches the collector plate, as a result of which the photoelectric current in the circuit becomes zero. Then the value of the potential of the collector is called as stopping potential. We have defined it is the potential applied to the collector for which the no photoelectron reaches the collector, and the photoelectric current in the circuit becomes zero. Now when the photoelectric current in the circuit becomes zero, under that condition what would happen? Work done in stopping these incoming electrons by the collector, that will be equal to the maximum kinetic energy of these photoelectrons. Now as E is the charge on the electron, which is constant, so it is found that stopping potential is directly proportional to the maximum kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectrons. Okay. Now on the basis of this photoelectric effect experiment conducted by this what we can say conducted in the year of 1900. So what were the conclusions or observations that were made on the basis of this experiment, photoelectric effect experiment? Let's study about this. So observations made were as, now we people are going to study about the observations. So what are the observations here in this case? So let's study about the observations. What were the observations were made on this photoelectric effect? So the first observation was, that is variation of intensity with the photoelectric current. Variation of intensity variation of intensity of light with the photoelectric current, So how we can explain this? Look at here. If on this electrode C, the intensity of the radiation is increased, then what would happen? More and more photoelectrons will get ejected from it. So we can say the intensity of the incident radiation is strictly proportional to the photoelectric current in the circuit, provided if the collector is maintained at positive accelerating potential, positive accelerating potential. If the collector is at positive accelerating potential, and the what we can say, the frequency of the incident radiation is kept constant and intensity is varied. So here we observe that if we plot the graph between this intensity and photoelectric current, intensity and photoelectric current, then what happens? The graph is found to be like this. That is, photoelectric current is found to be directly proportional to the intensity of the incidental radiation. Greater is the intensity, greater will be the number of photoelectrons ejected from the metal surface. Further, the second point is, that is variation of potential with respect to the how we can say, if we vary the potential, then how the current or what we can say, what would be the impact on the photoelectric current. So second point, we people here are going to study is effect of or variation of potential on photoelectric current. The second observation was made, or effect of potential on photoelectric current. That is effect of potential on photoelectric current. So here in this case, what would happen if we plot the graph between this photoelectric current versus the collector plate potential. This is photoelectric current, and here collector plate potential. This is collector plate potential. Collector plate potential, and here we are writing the retarding potential. So here what could happen? Let us consider this is our retarding potential. I have denoted it as V0. What would be the effect of potential on the electric current? Suppose here along this direction we have taken the photoelectric current. This is photoelectric current. It is varying along this y-axis. So what would happen? Suppose we people have made here the frequency of the incident radiation is kept constant. Okay, we have kept the frequency of the incident radiation, that is nu, is kept to be constant, and these radiations of intensity, let us consider I1 is incident on this plate C, or this emitter electrode, that what we call C. Under that condition, what would happen? Number of photoelectrons will get ejected from the metal surface, as a result of which, if collector is maintained at the positive potential, collector is already at the positive potential, then electrons will get accelerated towards this collector, as a result of which current will increases. Now, if we vary this collector potential, or if we make this collector more and more positive, under that condition what would happen? More and more electrons will reach, or they will get accelerated towards the collector, and a stage is reached when all the electrons of the emitter will reach the collector, and that stage is called as saturation current. That is the maximum current which can be withdrawn from the emitter corresponding to this intensity whose frequency is kept constant. So here in this case we got the curve, that is the the curve is like that. This is for the intensity I1. Intensity of the light is I1, and here we have kept the frequency constant. Here in this case frequency is kept as constant. Now the same experiment is repeated by taking the intensity of the radiation, or by making the intensity of the radiation I2. So whenever the radiation of intensity I2 is made to fall on this emitter, under that condition what would happen? Again the photoelectrons are ejected and they get accelerated towards the collector, constituting this what we can say photoelectric current in the circuit. Now if we further increase the collector potential, that is if we increase the potential of the electrode A, then what would happen? More and more electrons will get accelerated, as a result of which more and more electrons will get accelerated, as a result of which again the saturation stage will come. That is, whole of the electrons of the emitter, they will reach the collector. So corresponding to the intensity I2, again the saturation stage is reached. So here in this way, corresponding to the intensity of the light I2, the saturation stage is reached. Further, here in this case the frequency of the radiation is kept constant. Now we will repeat this experiment with the intensity, by increasing the intensity of light. That is, now we have made the intensity of the incident radiation or UV radiation for the emitter having the zinc electrode, that I3, such that this I3 is greater than I2. So what would happen? Again the more number of electrons will get ejected from this emitter, and due to the positive potential of the collector, they will reach the collector, as a result of which photoelectric current will flow in the circuit. Now, if we further increase this collector potential, under that condition what would happen? More and more photoelectron will get accelerated towards this collector, giving rise to the photoelectric current in the circuit, and a stage is reached when all the electrons of the emitter will reach the collector, and that stage is called as the saturation stage. Under that condition, current in the circuit is called as saturation current. So corresponding to the intensity I3, we got this graph, that is I3. Here this frequency is kept constant for all these intensities, and here I3 is greater than I2 and I2 is greater than I1. So what we conclude from here, from this graph, what we conclude? First thing, that stopping potential or the maximum kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectrons is independent of the intensity. Look at here, the intensity of the incident radiations are I3, I1, but for all these three incident radiations whose intensities are I1, I2, I3, we got the same value of the stopping potential. What does it mean? It means that work done by the stopping potential is independent of the intensity of the incident radiation. It does not depend upon the intensity of incident radiation. It depends only on the frequency. If a frequency is kept constant, the stopping potential is also becoming constant. Okay, so how it happens? Now look at here. If the collector is made at negative potential, suppose the collector is maintained at a negative potential, under that condition what would happen? If we are talking about this intensity I3, then if we increase this retarding potential called as the stopping potential, if we make it more and more negative, then what would happen? No more photoelectrons, a stage is reached when no more photoelectron will reach the collector, and corresponding to that the photoelectric current in the circuit should be zero. So it is happening here in this diagram, so this thing should be kept in mind. Okay, so it is explained in the first step by making the collector at positive potential. Then for retarding potential, why the current is zero, if we make the collector at negative potential and if we increase this retarding potential, we will got the value of the photoelectric current as well zero. So in this way, we have explained about the effect of potential on photoelectric current. Now let's study about the third fact, that is effect of frequency of incident radiation. Effect of frequency of incident radiation on the photoelectric current. So let us study about this third factor, that is effect of So we people are going to study about effect of frequency of incident radiation on stopping potential. Effect of frequency of incident radiation, frequency of incident radiation on stopping potential. So how we can explain this on this stopping potential? So here again we people will plot the graphs, and graphically we will explain the factor. Along the y-axis the photoelectric current is varying. This is photoelectric current. And here the collector plate potential is varying along this direction, and here the retarding potential is varying. So here I am writing, this is a retarding potential. Along this direction. So what would happen here in this case? We people have kept the intensity of the light constant. So here the graph obtained will be like that. Let us consider this is minus V01. This graph is minus V02. So this value is called as saturation current. Okay, and here what would happen? We have drawn this curve for the three frequencies. This curve is frequency nu3, this is nu2, and this is nu1. And here intensity of the light is kept constant. Here what we have done, nu3, intensity of the light, is kept constant, but the frequencies are varying. Nu3 is greater than nu2 and nu2 is greater than nu1. So in order to study this effect of incident radiation on stopping potential, what would happen here in this case? Here in this case, we have kept the intensity of the light constant. Intensity is kept constant. Intensity of the light is kept constant, okay, and ultraviolet radiations are made incident on the emitter, which is made up of the zinc metal. So corresponding to the frequency nu1, if the frequency of the incident radiation is nu1, under that condition what would happen? If we increase the if we increase the, what we can say, negative potential of the collector, under that condition what would happen? What would happen? The photoelectric current, no more photoelectrons will reach the collector, as a result of which photoelectric current in the circuit will become zero. Now if we increase this collector potential from negative to positive, then what would happen? More and more photoelectrons will get accelerated towards the collector, constituting the photoelectric current, as a result of which in the circuit photoelectric current will rise. So here in this case what we can say, that is for each frequency. Now if we change the frequency of the incident radiation, that is if we make it nu2, that is nu2 is greater than nu1, under that condition, in order to make the photoelectric current in the circuit zero, we need the greater stopping potential or greater retarding potential, as shown in the figure. Further, if we increase the frequency of the incident radiation, under that condition, what would happen? The photoelectrons will move with greater kinetic energy, and in order to stop these electrons, more collector has to be made more and more negative. So we can say that here we need the greater value of the stopping potential. So corresponding to these three frequencies, we need the, as the frequency we people are making it greater, so greater value of the retarding potential is required in order to make the photoelectric current in the circuit zero. So these were the observations of this experimental arrangement. Once again repeating, the first observation was made that variation of intensity of light with photoelectric current. So here in this case what was happening, that is, as the radiation are made incident on the emitter, the electrons are ejected. So if the intensity of the incident radiation was increased, under that condition emission of electron was found to be increased when the collector was maintained at the positive potential here in this case, as a result of which current in the circuit also increased. So the graph was made in between the intensity and photoelectric current, which means that photoelectric current is proportional to the intensity of the incidental radiation. In the second case, we have studied about the effect of potential on photoelectric current. So what was the effect of potential? In order to study the effect of this potential, what we have done, we have kept the frequency of the incident radiation constant, and we have made the radiation incident on the emitter one by one. Let us consider the radiation of intensity I1 is made incident on this emitter. Then what would happen? If the collector is maintained at positive potential, more and more photoelectron will reaches the collector, constituting the photoelectric current. Now if the intensity is increased, then corresponding to this intensity, a stage will reach when all of the electrons from the emitter, they will reach the collector, and that stage has saturation current. Current in the circuit corresponding to that stage will be called as saturation current. And then we have repeated the same experiment with the two more intensities, which are found to be greater than this intensity, that is I3 is greater than I2 and I2 is greater than I1. Okay, so what we conclude from this graph, that is kinetic energy of the emitted electrons, that is proportional to the stopping potential. So we lead to the conclusion kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectron is proportional to the frequency of the incident radiation and is independent of intensity for the different values of the intensity, because we people are getting the same value of the stopping potential. In the third case, effect of frequency on the incident radiation on stopping potential. So for this, what we have done, intensity of the incident radiation are kept constant. So what would happen? And frequency is made one by one, that is, in the first case the frequency is kept nu1, in the second case nu2, in the third case nu3. So here in this case, what would happen? If the collector is maintained at positive potential, ultraviolet radiation of frequency nu1 is made incident on the emitter, as a result of which what would happen, more and more photoelectron will get attracted or accelerated towards the collector, giving rise to the collector current. Then a stage will reach when all the electron of this collector, they are reaching the collector. All the electron from the emitter, they reaches the collector. So giving rise to the saturation current, like that. Now if we make the collector negative, then what would happen? Under that condition, a stage is reached when no more photoelectron will reaches the collector, as a result of which, corresponding to this frequency, the photoelectric current in the circuit will become 0, as it is denoted by minus V01. Same is the case happened, and when the experiment is repeated with the frequencies nu2 and nu3. So in this way, we can explain the effect of frequency of incident radiation on stopping potential. Now, on the basis of these observations, the laws of photoelectric emissions were explained. Let us study about these laws. What about the laws of photoelectric emission? Laws of photoelectric emission. So on the basis of these graphs, we can explain the laws of photoelectric emission. The first law is, it is based upon what we can say, the photoelectric emission will take place only when the frequency of the incident radiation is greater than the characteristic of the metal called threshold frequency. If the frequency of incident radiation is not greater than threshold frequency, no photoelectric emission will take place. So here the first law is, the photoelectric emission will take place. Photoelectric emission will take place only when the frequency of incident radiations are or simply frequency of the incident radiation is greater than the characteristic frequency greater than the characteristic frequency of the metal, called as threshold frequency, Okay. So if the frequency of incident radiation is lesser than this threshold frequency, no photoelectrons will be emitted from the metal surface, and we can explain this with the help of the graph. That is, if we plot the graph between the stopping potential, this is the stopping potential, and here the frequency nu is varying, then no stopping potential is required in between this region, and therefore this frequency is called as the threshold frequency. Okay, so this is the graph between the stopping potential versus frequency. So if the frequency of incident radiation is greater than this frequency, only under that condition photoelectric emission is possible, otherwise it is not possible. let's move to the second law. That is, the photoelectric emission is the instantaneous process. That is, the time lag between the incident of radiation and emission of the photoelectron is less than 10 to the power minus 9 seconds. So the second law we can say here, that is the photoelectric emission. The photoelectric emission is instantaneous process. That is, the time lag between incident radiation and emission of photoelectrons is less than 10 to the power minus 9 seconds. 10 to the power minus 9 seconds. So here, if it is instantaneous process, then as we have previously studied that with this graph, if this graph is this is the photoelectric current, this is photoelectric current, and here the intensity of the light is there. So what could happen? The graph is found to be proportional, that photoelectric current is proportional to the intensity of light. So this is the second law of photoelectrical effect. Now let's study about the third law. On the basis of these observations, the third law is the kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectrons is independent of the intensity of incident radiations. So here we can say third law is kinetic energy of the emitted photosynthetic photoelectrons is independent of kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectrons is independent of intensity of incident radiations. So here the corresponding graph is, this is the graph, that is, this graph can be made. So here we can draw this graph again, that is, along the y-axis the photoelectric current is there, along this x-axis here collector plate potential is the collector plate potential is there, collector plate potential is varying, and here the retarding potential is varying, and here the photoelectric current is varying. Current is varying. So here what we get, how we can explain this, that is, if the frequency is kept constant, then this is minus V naught, stopping potential is there. So corresponding to the, if frequency is kept constant and here the intensities are varying, that is, instance I3 is greater than I2 and I2 is greater than I1. Under that condition, what would happen here? This is the saturation current for the intensity I1, and this is the value of saturation current for the intensity I2, and this is the value of saturation current for the intensity I3, in this way. Okay? So here The law is valid. Kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectron is independent of the intensity. It only depends upon the frequency. It is quite evident from this graph. Now, the fourth law states that number of photoelectrons emitted from the metal surface. Number of photoelectrons emitted from the metal surface, depends upon the intensity of incident radiation. Number of photoelectrons emitted from the metal surface depends upon the intensity of incident radiation and is independent of frequency, independent of the frequency of the radiation, and it is quite clear from this graph. If we plot this graph in between the photoelectric current versus this photoelectric current versus the electroplate potential, then what we got here, that here in this case we have kept the intensity constant, so we are getting the saturation value for the intensity corresponding to 3 different frequencies. So we conclude that number of photoelectrons emitted from metal surface depends upon the intensity of incident radiations and is independent of the frequency of radiations. It only depends upon intensity. So in this way, these were the laws of photoelectric emission. Once again repeating, first law states that photoelectric emission will take place only when the frequency of incident radiation is greater than the characteristic frequency of the metal, called as threshold frequency. This thing should be noted. This is called as threshold frequency, denoted by this nu naught. This is called as threshold frequency. Below this frequency, no photoelectric emission will take place. If we plot the graph between stopping potential and frequency, the graph is like that. Second law is the photoelectric emission is the instantaneous process. That is, the time lag between the incident radiation and emission of photoelectron is less than 10⁻⁹ seconds. What does it mean? That photoelectric current is proportional to the intensity of the incidental radiation. In the third law, the kinetic energy of the emitted photoelectron is independent of the intensity of incident radiation. So if the frequency is kept constant and the intensity is varied, then we got the only and only one value of stopping potential, and which is proof of this, which quite proves this law. Fourth law, number of photoelectrons emitted from the metal surface depends upon the intensity of incident radiation and is independent of the frequency of incidental radiation. Here you can see that corresponding to these 3 frequencies, the same saturation current is found to be same here. So this is the fourth law. Okay. So in this way, students, we have studied about the photoelectric effect, its experimental arrangement, the observations made, and then the laws of photoelectric emission on the basis of the observations made. Thank you.